Hola, SAP developers. Welcome to the first session, part of today's DevTorfest 2025 integration track. Before we start, please feel free to drop us your questions on the chat window as we will be monitoring it and we'll be answering your questions then. There will also be a special Q&A section at the end of the session. Many of you asked about the event add-on for ERP last week. Today, we have two sessions covering everything about it. So I hope that you save your questions from last week to today. In this session, we have Jakob, who is part of Asapio, which is a technology that powers the event add-on for ERP. And Carsten, who is the lead product manager for everything event-driven integrations at SAP. And they will give us an overview of what the new event add-on for ERP is all about. Without any further delay, hola, Jakob, Carsten, over to you guys.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Antonio. It's always great this time of the year and to hear the Ola developers. I remember that from last year. And not sure whether all of you remember that we had done an overview session of all kinds of event enablement technologies for S/4HANA, for ECC, and so on. Today, what we want to do is we want to dive a little bit deeper into the event add-on for ERP that we have introduced earlier this year into the market. Quickly, for my background, I think Antonio already did a quick introduction, not fully warp speed, but quite quick. My name is Carsten Strothmann, lead product manager for event-driven integration. So that means advanced event mesh. It means event mesh and integration suite. It means the consumers though as well. So build, for example, or even the backend systems can obviously consume inbound events, and as well the event sources. And today it's going to be that focus. And I really like the title Warp Speed for Event Creation, because this is what the event add-on is about. It has a wonderful time to event. And with that said, Jakob, I think you might want to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hello, developers. Mucho gusto. My name is Jakob Vogelsang. I'm from the company Asapio. We are the manufacturer behind the event add-on for ERP, so it's providing the technology that together with SAP and on this partnership, of course, very proud to deliver this new piece of technology to you to make sure that, well, it's as easy as it can be and as fast as it can be to create events, to modify events and send them to the advanced event mesh, so to a flagship broker. And so, yeah, happy to be here today to be talking about it. We'll have two sessions, as you know. And so, yeah, this will be the overview and looking forward to the session and the questions. Thank you.
Perfect. I think let's go to the agenda, Jakob. Jakob has another task for the first few slides here, switching the slides for me. So how are we going to approach this? As usual, we'll start with a very quick introduction to event-driven architecture. Whenever I do my presentations, I always ask, okay, do you have a full background? There's always somebody in the room that doesn't. So I usually start with that introduction. We'll look at SAP's technical event-driven ecosystem. So how do the pieces fit together? I will try to give a few updates here as well. On top of that, we will see where the event add-on fits in. Then it's over to Jakob. Jakob will talk about the add-on. We will look at the commercial aspects because those are quite interesting. Then it's installation and configuration. And then I will wrap it up with a quick comparison of SAP standard events and the event add-on. With that said, next slide, technical ecosystem. And here we go. So that's my usually introduction to event-driven architecture. I go for that here as well. So what is an event? We can change in state. So something happened in your S4 system. If you look at the bottom right, you can see a significant change that has happened in an S4, a product got changed. What you see up there at the bottom left is in the end where it has occurred. It has occurred, the event has occurred in the event source, the S4 system. There's an event broker. So the event source hands over the event to the event broker, and the event broker then distributes distributes the event to interested consumers, and those consumers have registered with the event broker and then are then informed of the event. The beauty here is it's all loosely coupled. It's completely real time. The event source quite often doesn't know who's going to consume the event. It basically filters for the topic that you can see on top of the event on the right. So if we wanted to get informed about product changes, we would filter, we would subscribe to product change events in the end. That's the approach. On the top right, you see a number of use cases. You see this water pipe. Let's assume there's a leak in that water pipe. You want to get informed about this significant change in state immediately, and you want to be able to react to that. So you would be consuming leak in water pipe, and then you would react. Actually, there's a customer that does this on a large scale. Monitor the utilities company, and they monitor the water pipes all over Belgium. If you look at the right-hand side, top right, you see this credit card getting swiped. So significant change happening. Somebody is using my credit card. So what's going to happen? If it's me, it's just gonna initiate the payment. The event is, if it's somebody else, hopefully the event will be listened to as well. Somebody's going to do a fraud detection, and it will prevent that payment going through. And actually, another customer use case, another live customer use case. The third largest credit card provider in the world is live with that. You see the lady boarding the plane. So quite often at airports, the plane is ready for boarding. You receive an event on your smartphone, in your app that the airlines typically provide, and they tell you, "Hey, plane is ready for boarding. Go to gate 5." The same holds true, by the way, for luggage. If you pick up the luggage, it indicates which belt to go to. And then on the right-hand side, that's indicating the Suez Canal. If the Suez Canal is blocked, you get an event, "Hey, you cannot take that route, Suez Canal blocked," and you react to it. In this case, it didn't work exactly that way. Nevertheless, in an event-driven approach, the customer that I'm trying to point to here, they track their containers. And based on the news that the Suez Canal was blocked, they knew exactly where their ships were located at, and they were able to reroute everything. So basic point here, something happens in real time, you distribute it to all interested parties in a decoupled way. You can use filtering, you subscribe to these events. That's in a nutshell event-driven architecture with a number of advantages. And just to summarize it in one sentence, that's always my favorite sentence from an American customer: I want my ERP to be a team player. So it allows your software components, your ERP, your Salesforce system, your hypercloud provider applications, your smartphone apps to play like a team and to really act on certain business situations. And yeah, with that said, Jakob, next slide. In the end, there are a number of use case patterns that you can identify that our customers go for. Clean core, so you're in the end extending a backend system, your S4 system on the BTP, and in real time you get informed about changes in the backend system and couple this in a nice way. Social media of the enterprise, smart data flow, where you're really distributing the data in the enterprise. Orchestration, in that case, you have events getting consumed in the integration suite, and the integration suite then orchestrates different activities based on that event. Real time, I guess it's quite obvious. Something happens in Australia. and you get informed of that change in microseconds on the American West Coast. So quite quickly, shock absorber, buffering events, glue, where you're really going across vendors, bringing together all kinds of event sources and even all kinds of event brokers, transforming distributor, where you bring together advanced event mesh with the integration suite, and you can adjust the events. And actually, we have something new in beta. It's called micro integrations that will go into direction on a smaller scale. And color, it's going to be a huge, huge topic for AI. If we're talking about real-time RAG right there, smart data distribution, so RAG retrieval augmented generation, where you're adding real-time data into so that your agents really are aware of the situation. And yeah, huge topic right there. In the end, what we're talking about with event-driven architecture and what we're building for our enterprises, we're building a nervous system. So you can really picture the events flowing around, informing about significant changes, and allowing the different components to work together in real time. Next. How does this translate into SAP's technical ecosystem? Well, at the center of our ecosystem, you see SAP Integration Suite Advanced Event Mesh, our flagship broker that does power your complete enterprise, your complete nervous system, and is capable of doing that in respect to scale, in respect to features. It forms a power couple with the SAP Integration Suite. I had already mentioned those mediation orchestration use cases. There's a smaller broker in Integration Suite that is the starter broker for small to medium use cases. You can migrate to Advanced Event Mesh easily, and that's actually the path we expect our customers to take to get started. Ideally, I would already start with Advanced Event Mesh if you want my recommendation. Nevertheless, if you really want to start smaller, I expect that at some point in time you will really like EDA, and then you will start migrating to Advanced Event Mesh. So power couple is what you should remember. And that's the part that we'll talk about today. You see the top part. These are in the end the event consumers and event sources. We're talking about third-party cloud applications. Advanced Event Mesh fully supports all kinds of standards, AMQP, MQTT, REST, and. We do have connectors to all kinds of third-party cloud applications. Then there's SAP cloud applications that includes S/4HANA Public Cloud, the BTP, SuccessFactors. Those you can easily connect to Advanced Event Mesh. And then let's switch over to the top right. You do have on-premise and private landscapes. So S4, ECC. There are standard events, roughly 600 in S4, in the newer versions. That's one way to go. We do provide the application interface framework to expose events for S/4HANA and SAP ECC. And then, and you see this in blue, there's the event add-on for ERP, which is really the premium offering there, because it has a number of features that facilitate creating custom events and that allow you to do that for S/4HANA on-prem and private cloud and for ECC. And it goes back to really, really old versions. I think Jakob can go a little bit deeper there. This is roughly the overview. So the point here is there is a technical ecosystem that is ready right now that you can immediately get started with, that focuses on event sources, on world-class event brokers, and on event consumers. And let me just elaborate that or add one thing to this. Some of you might be using CAP, the Cloud Application Programming Model. We have just released CAP to work with Advanced Event Mesh. That's gonna reflect in some blogs and on the roadmap. Nevertheless, it's ready and you can use that already. With that said, next slide. Okay, so that's a little bit the overview again in respect to the event sources, and I had mentioned most of this already. I'll try to quickly go over it again. On the left-hand side, ERP. If you want to build custom events there, event add-on for ERP is what you want to go for. You can use it for really, really old backend systems if needed, and you can build custom events. Then that's S4. You got different options. You got the SAP standard events, roughly 600, since it's on S4HANA on-prem. It depends a little bit on the version that you have there. On top of that, you have the event add-on for ERP, which we will talk about today, and that allows you to create custom events. While the main focus of the standard events is obviously standard events, nevertheless, you can adjust them a little bit, and you can, using the wrap-based approach, build custom events as well. And then for S4HANA, there would be the application interface framework with advanced event measures as well. That's a little more on the coding side. Then for S4HANA public cloud, you have to stick with the standard events. So this is the area where you're not going to be able to use the event add-on for ERP. You can use it, as said, for S4 on-prem and private cloud. And just to give you the full picture, if you look at the right-hand side, SuccessFactors is event-enabled as well. So you can reuse the Intelligent Service Center events, and there is this new approach via the Event Hub. So the way forward will be the way via the Event Hub. And yeah, then you inject those events into Advanced Event Mesh and you can distribute them. Next slide, Jakob. And now it's just a very quick motivation of why you would want to go for custom events, because the event add-on is extremely strong in custom events. Why would you want them? Two perspectives on that. I was mentioning that in S4 there are roughly 600 standard events there. You know how powerful S4 is. So there is no standard event for everything yet. So in case there's no standard event, in case a standard event is missing, you will have to create a custom event. The beauty is you can build a custom event that perfectly fits your use case. On top of that, ECC, there are no standard events. So you will always have to build custom events there. And then there's another point on the right-hand side. It allows you, custom events allow you to differentiate. So kind of like the clean core topic, where in the end there are some extensions that hold the differentiator, the business know-how that is very unique to your company. This is what custom events are about as well. So custom events allow for differentiation. You can build business know-how into these events that other customers might not have, and that will never make it into the standard. So just as a background there. And with that, I think I've been talking for quite a while. Let's come to the main topic of today. Let's move over to Jakob.
Yeah, so I would now like to introduce the event add-on for ERP to you in more detail, talk about what values it provides, and then also how you can get started using it. And then, as said, we also have a deep dive session afterwards, after this one here, so that you can also see it live and in action. So first of all, why? I mean, we've already talked about why you would want event-driven integration. And maybe just one thing that I always like to mention is that, an SAP system in essence is about events internally. Yeah, all people doing things in S4HANA system, creating sales orders, changing business partners, creating invoices, changing whatever, deleting business objects, all these things that happen in the transaction of an SAP system. These are events, yeah. And so it's a very natural thing how the SAP system is working internally. And so what we want to make sure is that also outside of this closed box of the SAP system, you can react to these events, you can communicate in that way, and therefore, just move the SAP world and the SAP system much closer also to surrounding systems and so the outside world. And so the offering to build this bridge and to make it easy to consume and create such events is the event add-on for ERP. And as I said, we are very proud from Asapio that we can provide the technology, which is now an official SAP solution that is part of the BTP for a couple months now. You can consume it right from your existing BTP contracts. I will be talking about the commercials as well. And so everything is so the support, the software delivery, and everything is coming from SAP. And so the technology is then provided by Asapio. And as you can see on the left-hand side, the way how this bridge between the SAP core system and the advanced event mesh is working is that basically you install the event add-on for ERP on your S/4HANA or your ECC system, or for that perspective, it could be any NetWeaver ABAP. Yeah, so it's an ABAP-based add-on. Carsten just said it is compatible even with very old ABAP stacks. Yeah, so an ECC6, EHP6 would even be supported. Yeah, I hope you're not on those releases anymore, but even if you are, you could install it right away and then basically enable your SAP system for the world of event-driven integration. And then once installed and activated, the event add-on for ERP would, as you can guess from the picture on the left-hand side, it would create a connection to your advanced event mesh brokers and allow bidirectional flow of events. And so why should you use the add-on? I mean, first of all, as Carsten said, you may not have the right standard events, of course, or you may want to build a completely own custom event. And of course, in SAP, you could always go ahead and custom code something. Yeah, no one could stop you from that, but it may not be a good idea to do that. Yeah, so you may introduce coding to your system that is not clean core, that someone has to maintain and so on. Yeah, so you introduce a lot of technical debt. So the idea for the event add-on is that you make it as convenient as possible and as codeless as possible, or even entirely codeless, to configure such events. Yeah? And so I said earlier that so SAP internally is really based on events, and there are thousands of event triggers. So as an SAP user, every action you do within an SAP system really fires these event triggers. Yeah, so you're creating a sales or you're changing a purchase order. All these transactional activities, they create event triggers, and so these event triggers basically the add-on listens to these triggers that they occur, and then it is sending your event. So that could be a notification event, that could be also a heavyweight data event. It is sending that to your broker. And essentially, so we can reuse all these thousands of standard and already included event triggers. There are different technologies available for these event triggers. We'll come to that as well. But basically, you can reuse the standard triggers, but you can also come up with your custom triggers in case you have such a differentiating process for which there are no custom triggers available. And then the most important aspect of the event add-on is that you basically define the structure of the event, and also when it is being sent, you define that in a codeless fashion. Yeah, so you're not going into SAT or your ABAP development toolkit and hammer down something in the code, but essentially it's configuration based, yeah, with visual editors, and you can basically drag and drop your events together. You can design the structure of the events, which fields it should contain. Yeah, we refer to that as the payload of the events. Yeah, so what's contained in it, all the business information. And so to make that codeless, for example, or mostly codeless in case you want maybe some custom calculations on top of it. Then also for the event add-on for ERP, we will very soon be offering also predefined payloads. Yeah, so there is a large collection already of predefined payloads. So basically event definitions. So there are more than 50 of such events. So I would say the typical suspects of events. Yeah, so the sales order, the purchase order changes and creations, the invoices, goods movement, and so on. So all of these typical events that well, basically most of our customers really want to define. Yeah, so we thought, okay, how can we make it even more easy to come to the events? Yeah, of course, codeless already is much easier than coding, but then shipping already the payloads and the event definitions and is of course making it even more easy and fast to come up with your events. And so you could take these predefined event payloads or these predefined events as they are, or you could use them as a basis for further customization and maybe introduce other fields or tables that you also want to send. And last but not least, of course, you're totally free to use the tooling to model your own custom events from scratch. Yeah? So if you have an event that doesn't exist as part of the standard, you're completely free to define something for your particular purposes. Then also the event add-on allows for bidirectional communication, as you can also see from the arrows. So outbound events, meaning sending events from the SAP core system to the advanced event mesh. Yeah, that is, I would say, the most used use case. But of course, if you want your SAP system to be an active part in your event-driven architecture, of course, you would also want your SAP system to understand events that are coming from the broker. Yeah, someone else might also have created an event that you then want to consume within SAP. Yes, and therefore the event add-on also allows for inbound communication and to understand events that are sent from the broker. And lastly, the events, so you can decide how real-time you want to be. Yeah, so it may be that you want a change to be transmitted to your event mesh as soon as it occurs. Yeah, that is the usual way. But it might also be that you want to maybe batch events together in larger or smaller chunks, or you might even want to make an initial, as we call it, an initial load. So let's say you're introducing your SAP system to your event ecosystem. Yeah, maybe you would want to first transmit all the, I don't know, 20 million sales orders that have accumulated in the last year, and then you go real time. Yeah, so you do this initial load first so that everyone who is consuming from the event mesh is up to speed, and then you go real time. Yeah, this is particularly useful if you maybe have new consumers, or if you, as I said, just add your SAP system to the event ecosystem. And so also these different transmission modes are part of the configuration, what you can do with the add-on. And lastly, of course, the add-on needs to make sure that the events are transmitted in a reliable and high performance fashion. Yeah, so we have customers who transmit hundreds of millions of events each day, and so of course event driven as such is made for high performance, and so of course we need to make sure through various reasons, through various means like multi-threading and so on, that we of course also contribute to that high performance way of working, but also it needs to be reliable. Yeah, when you are relying on event-driven, of course, you want you don't want to miss a single event. Yeah, that may be, for example, look at the credit card transactions we saw earlier. Of course, you don't want to miss a single transaction, and so that's why the event add-on also includes means to error correct, yeah, and so to reprocess maybe failed messages to make sure that there is this quality of service to the communication that you're not losing events, or if maybe there was a small glitch in the communication that it then self-heals and makes sure that you're not losing such events. And so there are monitoring tools, test tools, and of course these measures to react to such errors. Yeah, and so all this is now available directly from SAP as part of the BTP. And yeah, so let's maybe have a more detailed look into how the event add-on actually does these or achieves these properties. So this is now a more technical depiction of what I just explained earlier. You may see on the left-hand side, this may be your S/4HANA or your ECC system or your NetWeaver ABAP for that matter. And you then have the, as you can see here in dark blue, you have the event add-on for ERP installed on top of or within the SAP system, and it then builds this bidirectional communication channel towards the advanced event mesh broker. And so the way how it now technically works, so that you understand the concept, is basically there are various trigger technologies in the SAP system that are there as part of the standard. Here, there are the good old business object events. There are on S/4HANA, there are now RUP events that you can react to, or any other sort, like an IDOC creation, for example, could be a trigger. And so basically what the add-on is doing, it is listening to these triggers occurring. Yeah, and so whenever the add-on witnesses that such a trigger was fired from any application somewhere in the SAP system, it would then start the flow. Yeah, so the trigger may be a new sales order was created. And so once this has been observed, the add-on will notice it and will then react by looking at, okay, I saw there's a new sales order, there's a sales order creation event configured. Which data do I need? Yeah, and so this is where the payload comes into the picture. So you have modeled the payload design of this sales order event here. So it could be a very small notification that just says sales order 123 has been created, and you fire that event. But most likely you would want maybe all the properties of the sales order, maybe of the customer information or of the product, or whatever you want to bundle as part of that sales order event. And so this is where these payloads come into play. And so basically the add-on will then read either from the tables in the ECC system or from the CDS views in the S4 system. It will gather all the different fields or the business data that make up this event and create the message that it then sends through the outbound connector and make sure that it reliably reaches the advanced event mesh broker. And so, of course, we support all the neat features from advanced event mesh. So dynamic topics, for example, being a real differentiator if you have if you're active in the event-driven world. So yeah, we seamlessly integrate with these dynamic topics as well. And of course, it also supports high availability, failover connections, as I said, to make sure that all the events are transmitted reliably. And last but not least, we will also demonstrate this. It is that you can basically export the definitions of your events that you have modeled within your SAP system. You can export them in the Async API specification format to the Advanced Event Mesh event portal, and soon also to the developer hub, so that basically anyone who's interested in consuming the events can inform themselves about the structure of the events and can see whether can basically facilitate the reuse of the events then in your landscape by offering them in such a catalog. So how can your payloads now come together and how can you build these custom events. As I said, the definition of the event content happens in a codeless fashion. We will demonstrate this in the next session live in the system. And of course, this mechanism can work basically on any business object that you can think of. So it can be the typical standard objects like a sales order, but it could also be your completely custom object like your, I don't know, Catena X battery passport custom object that is not part of the standard, but even those can be event enabled by that. And also the way how we work is that basically you can add any payload from any table or any CDS view into the event. Yeah, so you're completely free in modeling which content to send as part of your event definition. And so as I said earlier, we are offering now, or we will very soon be offering together with SAP a large collection of such predefined standard events. So you could use them either directly out of the box, or you could use them as a basis for further customizations. And so these events hold very large collections of payloads that we've seen out there being used by most customers. And so we think they are very useful and event journey even further. Yeah, and last but not least, one technical perspective on the triggers and the properties. So basically within SAP and throughout the last decades of technology changes, of course, there are various trigger technologies that are supported now by the event add-on. So there are the good old business object events that basically are triggered by any standard transaction. But of course, now with S/4HANA and more new technologies being introduced, also RAP business object events are now supported by the event add-on as a trigger technology. But there are also others like a business transaction event, or you may react to the creation of an IDOC, for example, that may be the trigger for your process. It may be a replication that's coming from your SLT, or output determination, maybe valid trigger, or your change document, and. So I could go on with this list, but the thing I want to convey is basically you always find a trigger that you can react to. Or if you don't find one, you could also just very easily create your own custom triggers, and that can be the basis on which you event enable then your SAP system. Yeah, and with that, let's maybe have a quick look at it. Yeah, so as I said, we will have a live session directly afterwards this one where you can see it in action. Yeah, so I just have a few screenshots how the codeless configuration looks like. Yeah, so we will all see this. We have also extensive material provided where you can get an impression. And of course, as it's now part of BTP, you can easily, if you have an BTP environment, which is highly likely, you can just download it and try it out and see for yourself. And something that I also want to quickly indicate, we are now also renovating the user experience. So there's the Event Studio that is coming up, and that is basically a browser-based interface towards controlling all of your event definitions. You can activate, deactivate events, create new events, and this will be rolled out with the next releases as well, and will be available to you so that you don't have to rely on the good old SAP GUI for your event configurations anymore. Then also let's have a small look on the commercial aspects. Now, as the event add-on for ERP is part of the business technology platform, basically everyone who has a BTP contract, such as a consumption-based contract like the CPEA or BTPEA, or also the pay-as-you-go, you have direct access to also be using the event add-on for ERP. And also, of course, you can get subscriptions via the SAP store. So really it's, although Asapio is maybe the manufacturer behind the technology, really it is a fully blown SAP standard product. Yeah? So it's not a Solex solution or a third-party add-on, but it's all, so the download is through SAP, support channel is through SAP, and so you will not see a difference there. And that also holds true for the commercials. Yeah, so when you are, for example, on these consumption based contracts with BTP, basically using the add-on is also possible from your credits that you have as part of your contracts there. And so the way how this works in one sentence is basically SAP is measuring how many brokers you're using in combination with the add-on. So if you want to see the details and also the numbers, you can go to the Discovery Center and you can inform yourselves. Also, of course, you would need to take into account your specific discounts. But essentially, the way how this works is well, you download the add-on, and then once it's installed, you go to your broker, your advanced event mesh broker, and you basically activate it for communication with the add-on. And so the question then is how many brokers interact with the add-on, and this is essentially what will be measured and charged by SAP. So possibly it's easiest if we look at an example. Yeah, let's assume you have the following landscape, as can be seen down here. You have your advanced event mesh, and there you have two brokers, and only one is enabled to for communication with the add-on, and you have configured multiple SAP systems, ECC, S/4HANA, and whatever, only for communication with that single broker. Then this means that there is only one connection. Yeah, connection is the important word here, or the metric on which it's measured. Yeah, so one broker is enabled. This means there is one connection, even though there are multiple systems, backend systems connected to that broker. And so you will be charged one connection. Of course, if you then change the assignment, or if you enable the add-on also for your other broker, then, like in this example here, you will be charged two connections, yeah, because you have enabled the add-on for usage on two brokers. And in your typical scenario, I assume that most of you will start with 3 brokers enabled and 3 connections, because you may separate your development broker, your test and QA broker, and your production broker. So you will most likely have 3 connections that will be metered as a start. But of course, in case you have larger global event meshes, different regions, different brokers that all interact with one another, the advanced event mesh holds very strong capabilities in those global meshes, then of course you may have also more brokers being enabled here. But this is the thing that you need to know about the commercial aspects. Yeah, and last but not least from my side, how can you now get started? I think we have made it as easy as possible for you, hopefully. If not, please give us feedback, but hopefully we made it as easy as possible for you to get started. Basically, it's a very simple process. As I said, of course, you need to enable the event add-on for ERP, you need to enable that in your broker. Yeah, so that is happening in the advanced event mesh broker itself. There's a small button that you press. It says enable, and once you press that, your broker is ready to communicate with the event add-on. Then the second step would be, of course, that you install the add-on itself on your backend system. Yeah, so you can download it from the SAP Software Center. Yeah, you need to download, of course, then the correct version, install it, and then basically the communication needs to be configured. So the add-on reuses, of course, the standard communication measures of the ECC or S4 system, so an SM59 connection, an HTTPS connection, an encrypted connection will be established to your broker and then you're good to go and get started to configure events. Of course, you need to make sure in BTP that you get your entitlements assigned correctly. But as you can see, so the important word to, or the important hook to search for is the event add-on. Yeah, so that's the entitlement that you would need to assign into the sub account. But really, I would recommend, if you want to get started, I would recommend to get started with the Discovery Center mission that we created together. Yeah, so when you go to the BTP Discovery Center and you search either for Advanced Event Mesh, or you go to the Advanced Event Mesh Services page, you would find directly this mission. And this is a step-by-step procedure that helps you to go through all of these configurations, the installation, and also there is a way to communicate with us here, so with Carsten and the team, and also with our team from Asapio. In case you're stuck somewhere or you have questions, you will also have the possibility to interact there. So I think that would make it easiest for you to get started. Also, Carsten and I are writing a blog series about all of these aspects. So we have started by overviews. We're now focusing on more deep dives about commercials, deep dives about configuration, how to model it in a clean core compliant fashion, and so on. Yeah, so there are different blogs that will be released soon, and so that will also, of course, be a good starting point. And last but not least, the session that we will have in half an hour from now, a bit more than half an hour from now, is really a practical hands-on session where our lead product manager, Martin, will join us, and where he will take us through the add-on, and you can see it live, how easy it is to model your events. So, and with that, I would like to hand it over back to Carsten to also look at the different event enablement options.
Yes. Before we go there, though, I would like to add 2 comments to the commercial part here. Number one, very important. If you switch it on, obviously, if you switch the add-on on, you do get charged. And there is one thing I want to keep you in mind when you do that. If you switch it on and you use it, the charge happens for the months, right? So if you switch it on in October and you use it for a week or 2, the charge would be there for the entire month. So keep that in mind, just to make sure you don't try it out right now and then you're surprised. Nevertheless, there is one thing that I want to emphasize even more on. And that is how easy that commercial model is. Because in the end, you have to think about the brokers that you have activated, right? It does not matter how many events how many custom events you build in your backend system. It does not matter how many backend systems you connect. You really care about the broker. It's a very good model to calculate. So from a commercial perspective, very nice, very beneficial, extremely easy to rate. These that I want to highlight on top here. Good. Now let's look at the event enablement options there, and we're focusing on 2 options here. And there's a very important point I want to make right from the start. This is not either or. Quite often, I would recommend to combine both the event add-on for ERP, if you have older backend systems in the game. If it's about time to event, it's extremely quick to create the events. I haven't done ABAP development in years. I can create an event in 20 minutes. No problem. It's very straightforward, low code, no code if you want to. Pro code if you want to dig a little bit deeper. The standard events have simply the advantage. They are built in. You can just switch them on. That takes you even less time. For the standard events, if you have set up the infrastructure and you want to add an additional event, and I'm not joking, maybe I should really try it and check how much time I would need. I would say you can do it in a minute or two, even if the infrastructure there. You just go into your S4 cloud system and you expose a business partner created event, just like that. It's extremely straightforward. So both in combinations are wonderful. Let's quickly go through the different aspects here, the different criteria. So standard events, obviously they are built in. If you have a newer S4 system, if you have an S4 cloud system, you got standard events built in. All you need to do is set up a channel to advanced event mesh and enable the events. The event add-on for ERP, it's in the end extensibility. It goes back to older backends. It works for new S/4HANA on-prem systems as well. And it has a reason for being there. As said, the low-code, no-code is wonderful, and it does offer way more. Important point for the standard events. If you have a backend, an S/4HANA environment before 2022, this is not for you. So you need a newer for the standard events. For if you want to adjust them, you need a newer version. So it should be 2022 plus at least, meaning 2022 at least, and ideally 2023. And the newer the better, because we've added more features. And clearly, S/4HANA Public Cloud Edition, you will have to go for standard events. There's no other choice. Nevertheless, it's a good choice as well because you have typically extensible standard notification event. You can build custom notification and data event based on the wrap-based approach. So it's code-based, and you need RESTful application programming model know-how. So in a lot of companies that know-how is there, so you could use it. In other companies, the know-how there is still not there, it's still missing, then you would have to build up that know-how. As for the event add-on for ERP, it's custom events. So you can build custom data events, custom notification events. I think Jakob had mentioned that we will deliver certain templates for the most used events as well, for most of the use cases. And that's going to be a step forward. Again, even quicker time to event. And on top of that, and that's a differentiator, you have more event triggers. So you can use more objects as event triggers, iDocs, BAPIs, IFCs, and nowadays wrap POs as well. So we've introduced that. So there are more triggers, and that means you can go for different events. While for the standard events, even if you want to go for custom events, you need a wrap-based trigger. From a commercial perspective, there's a difference as well. So the standard events, they provide free usage. They come with your S/4HANA system, and you can simply use them. The event add-on is a paid add-on, so you have to go via BTPA, CPA, and so on. So there is a charge for it. Nevertheless, it offers a few things that might make this additional charge worth it for you. Supported backends, once again, very important. Standard events, S4, starting from 2022, and the 2023, there it gets really good. It gets better than the 2022 version because there are additional features like derived events and so on included. The colleagues will add additional features as well. As for public cloud, that is your way to go. Event add-on, ECC, back to really, really old ECCs. I had run a customer project years ago where we went back to a very, very old version. It did work. It works for S/4HANA. It works for S4 Private Cloud Edition as well. Delivery, standard events included, event add-on. You need to install that. That is obviously one thing you need to keep in mind. You need to install it. You need to install the add-on in your environment. In respect to the highlights, so 600 plus ready events, high scale out, using the REP framework, which is pretty much standard across companies these days. It does have a number of sophisticated features. I was mentioning the derived events, but there are local events as well, which are quite nice. The event add-on, the biggest selling point is really the time to event. It's so quick. It's really very quick, specifically with the low code. No code approach. There will be pre-delivered custom content. It will be clearly geared towards the most targeted use cases, and it allows for combining the different event creation technologies. Meaning you've seen that wrap on top, and I was mentioning that earlier for a reason. You can combine things. So it's not either or. It does have an initial mass load that comes with it. And I think the one thing I was mentioning earlier, the event trigger is a major differentiator as well, because it allows you to use so many triggers. Next slide, Jakob. Good. I don't want to fully go into the absolute details because this goes quite deep in some areas. I still want to point out a few things. The required skill set, that's something that you obviously should take into account. So you really need the rep know-how, and if you don't have it, you need to build it up. Event add-on, the hurdle is lower. Can be key user skills to ABAP skills. Both will come with dynamic topic support. That's a huge, huge factor. What is dynamic topic support? You know that you can kind of like a hashtag in X or Twitter. You can subscribe to get informed about sales order changed or sales order created. Now what you can do is you can take a field or data out of the payload of the event and put it into the topic. So let's assume a truck has left from France for Germany, and the company that the truck is headed for in Germany wants to filter for that specific truck, and you could then filter for, you could first add which city the truck has left from, so whether it's Lyon or Paris or Marseille, and the consumer of the event, the German company that would like to check on, okay, when is the truck arriving, could filter for the city. It's like, okay, we're waiting for a truck from Lyon, and you filter for Lyon. So this is basically what it is. So you can add data out of the event into the topic and can filter for that. It allows you to really even in a better way, consume only the events that you're interested for. I was already mentioning some of the feature highlights. I want to go over that again. Derived events, where you can adjust the payload of SAP standard events in the standard event section. Local events, where you fire events and then you can consume them, or you consume them in the same backend system where these events get fired. Actually, it helps quite some if you want to trigger some local activities without having to go via advanced event mesh or event mesh and integration suite. Dynamic topics I had already been discussing. End-to-end tracing is supposed to come sometime next year, beginning of next year, so you can follow the events from S4 all the way to where they are consumed. Outbound filtering, so you can filter the events getting exposed from the S4 system already on the S4 side before the events are getting handed over to advanced event mesh. On the add-on for ERP, the initial batch load, so loading some data over to get a basic set of data, and then only to indicate the changes, the significant changes, the events. Clean core checks, async API support, the low code, no code, as that is a huge differentiator. The template that will come. I think in the next session you will be able to see how great this tool is. connectivity protocol quickly. In respect to the standard events, with the newer backends, we have moved over to AMQP. Some older backends, the standard events were still on MQTT. Now there has been a move to AMQP. The event add-on allows two protocols there, AMQP and REST. So here it's very similar. The add-on comes from REST and AMQP has been added there. And yeah, I think that was an overview and a comparison of the approaches, and we had this overview of the event add-on before. So you've seen the commercial aspects, you've seen how great that tooling is, how perfectly it fits from a commercial perspective, because as said, it's easy, it's completely straightforward, and you don't really have to worry about it. I mean, how many events you're gonna expose or anything like that. So in the end, it's per broker. Yeah, and with that said, I think I'm done with my comparison here, and we are done with our presentation, and I think we can go towards the Q&A.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We only have one question today. There's a comment regarding how is it good to see that this is available to ECC, just because there's still a large number, obviously, of customers on ECC. So that's great. But then the question is regarding, I'm just going to ask the question, which is, what is the positioning of SAP Event Mesh versus SAP Event Management? Are they complementing or rather replacing each other?
They are complementing each other. SAP Event Management, to my understanding, is an application in S4. And now we need to watch it, because SAP Event Mesh is one of SAP's brokers, right? I'm not sure, Jakob, can you maybe go back to the overview slide? Might be easiest. Meaning
This one.
exactly, that's the one I wanted. So in the end, SAP does have a number of event brokers. So we do have Advanced Event Mesh, the flagship brokers, that we do have Event Mesh in SAP Integration Suite. SAP Event Mesh is a standard, or it's an offering of the BTP and a standalone broker still. So these are in the end the broker technologies we have. The comparison to event management is it's really an S4 application, and I'm not absolutely into the details there. It does indicate to other backend systems if there are changes, to my understanding. The broader technology that you look at here is about distributing events. So we're following the cloud event standard. So it does not matter to us whether an event occurs in an S/4HANA system or in a SuccessFactors system or in a Salesforce system or somewhere else. Could be an IoT event. I don't know, predictive maintenance needed for in a power plant, something like that. And so this broker technology goes way beyond the SAP world. It is about integrating all kinds of vendors in an event-driven way. Now, just to make that clear again, Advanced Event Mesh is a flagship broker. It can scale to really, really big numbers. It offers a lot of features. Then there's Event Mesh and SAP Integration Suite. These are, in the end, the two brokers offerings that we're moving forward with in future. On top of that, there's SAP Cloud Application Event Hub that exposes events from SAP Cloud applications, meaning you set that up once to Advanced Event Mesh, and they actually could be aligned to Event Mesh and Integration Suite as well. I think that's on the roadmap. And it will be like a gateway. So it facilitates exposing events from SuccessFactors, for example. SAP Event Mesh, as said, it's a standalone service in BTP. It's a smaller broker. Event Mesh and Integration Suite is basically the successor. So we have moved SAP Event Mesh into Event Mesh and Integration Suite and have adjusted the code base a little bit. Nevertheless, we're very close to feature parity there. And at some point in time, and I need to watch what I'm saying here, need to be very careful. At some point in time in future, we will stop selling SAP Event Mesh. So to answer this right to the point, I don't know when this will exactly happen. Since we have the feature parity with IMIS now, that means that it might be sometime soon. What does it mean? It means that existing customers can keep using it. So if you're an existing SAP Event Mesh customer, do not get worried. It's a commercial stopping to sell it because the focus is on Event Mesh and SAP Integration Suite, and new features will come in Event Mesh and Integration Suite. Now, I've answered this question a little bit broader. The point was really to bring the full picture over. So, Event Mesh, SAP Event Mesh, Advanced Event Mesh and Integration Suite, and SAP Event Management, they complement each other, would basically be the answer in short.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much. I'm just a bit conscious of time. I know that we've gone past the hour that we had scheduled. So thank you very much, Jakob and Carsten, for basically providing us a really great overview of the event item for ERP. I learned a lot today, especially the commercial side of things. There were things that I wasn't aware of. And I imagine that the viewers also clarified many of the doubts that they had regarding the event item for ERP. I also want to thank all the viewers, for joining the live event, or even if you're watching the recording after the event. Do know that apologies. In less than 20 minutes time, well, in 20 minutes time, sort of, we have a follow-up session where we are going to deep dive into event item for ERP, but this is more of a hands-on session. So enough theory, now we're going to the practice, right? And Jakob, Carsten, and Martin will be joining us in that session. So yeah, go grab a coffee, have a drink, have a bio break. And then we look forward to seeing you in 20 minutes. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.